This is way better than we thought. As following a huge Toronto Blue Jays win against the Baltimore Orioles in Game 2 of the season, one key aspect has unlocked the Toronto Blue Jays and is way better than a lot of us thought it was going to be. We're going to break down exactly what that is and discuss what it means going forward, as well as break down multiple Jays updates ahead of today's game. We have some updates surrounding both injuries and, of course, the lineup, which is a little bit surprising. Stay tuned for all that in this episode, folks. But before we get into it, make sure to hit that subscribe button. If you're part of the percentage who aren't subscribed to the channel and you're enjoying the daily Jays content, this is the place to be. So make sure to hit that subscribe button. Also a note, I'm going to the game this afternoon, so there might not be a post-game video tonight. So if there isn't, make sure to stay tuned for the rest of the season. There's going to be, of course, videos the rest of the way following the games. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's dive right into it here. There is a lot to go over today. Now, I want to start by talking about yesterday's game a little bit, but really diving into some things that have come out this morning and some, a key thing that has unlocked this team. And it has been both, we'll dive into the pitching a little bit, but also the use of the bench from John Schneider. And you can see this here yesterday from Keegan Matheson, and it flows well into the lineup, which we'll discuss later today. This inning was the exact scenario John Schneider and the Blue Jays had in mind for their bench bats tonight. Baltimore went to their lefty for Toronto's lefties at the bottom. The two pinch hitters, which were Ernie Clement and Davis Schneider, turned into a 2-run double and a walk. And this is something that I don't think is getting talked about enough, and it is clearly a huge advantage over the past, handful of seasons. Because coming into the seasons last year, again, their bench right now, Miles Straw on any given night, Miles Straw, Nathan Lucas, Ernie Clement, Davis Schneider, Will Wagner, Alan Roden, all these different things. They have so many players that are available to platoon and pinch hit that they can stack lefties at the bottom of the lineup. And we saw that in the game last night. And we knew coming into the game, they had, I believe, 3 lefties in a row at the bottom of the lineup. That was a perfect scenario to when the Orioles put in Cionel Perez, that they could put in the right-handed hitters. And yes, Ernie, Clement came in to pinch hit for Will Wagner. And at the time, Will Wagner was 2 for 3 on the night, and that's how he finished. But having these other guys available to pinch hit who are very good players, especially, maybe even in limited roles. And obviously, Ernie Clement's going to get an everyday role, and he's going to be playing a lot. But guys like Davis Schneider, now even Alan Roden off of the bench, which we'll see later in this video, things start to become very, very interesting and a lot better than a lot of us may have thought. And I think it's the point now where if you start to look at any edge the Jays can find, the differences between this season and last season, one of the big ones is going to be the platoon bats and how they're able to use those guys. You can also see an article that dropped this morning, or late last night, from Shada Vidi. We'll have another video on it in the future as well. The Blue Jays are seeking any edge to kind of, gain on the other team. The Blue Jays are seeking any little edge they can find, the way they did in the win versus the Orioles. A reset of locker assignments to mix position players and pitchers is among the little weird things we can do to improve that people don't even think about. Of course, adding some camaraderie to the team. Sorry, it's a hard word to say sometimes. Mixing the pitchers and the position players, but also a little edge like making sure that you are ready and constructing your lineup to have the upper hand on the other team. That's exactly what the Jays did in yesterday's game. They had the upper hand on the Orioles simply because, of course, you need your pitchers to be well. You need them to actually perform, and that's something that no matter how good John Schneider puts together a lineup or how poor he manages the bullpen, the players need to play. They need to get hits. We need Vladdy, Bichette, everybody at the top of the order, and even Andres Gimenez now in the cleanup spot. You need those guys to really be locked in. But regardless of that, having guys at the bottom of the lineup is going to be huge here. And the Jays are smoking the ball, and that's another thing that is better than we thought as well. Not only has this team, again, the first game didn't really, the results didn't directly translate. They were smoking the ball. They were getting a little bit unlucky. You look at yesterday, the first 6, hard outs and some of them being hits. You have Anthony Santander smoking the ball, George Springer smoking the ball, Will Wagner, Bichette looks fantastic. All these players are looking a lot better than at least I thought, especially, spring training, up and downs, things like that. But now they have David Popkins, and his, Dave Popkins' number one thing that he wanted from the Jays hitters was to swing with effort and to want to make big, hard contact. The polar opposite of what Don Mattingly gave this team. And it's just something that you can see it when they're swinging. George Springer, when he swings, he's swinging for hard contact. He wants one good swing, one good hard contact per at bat. And that's what they've been doing. And that's a big thing going forward. And see this here, only a 2-game sample size. So still a bit until we can make accurate judgments. But through 2 games, Bichette, Springer, Kirk, and Santander swinging the bat quite a bit harder. And we have Roden running a 70th percentile bat speed. Now, Roden's been a huge guy as well. But regardless of that, just looking for a minute, the players that have been around, Bichette, Kirk, and Springer, and then, of course, the new addition of Anthony Santander, they're swinging their bat harder, which is a direct correlation to Dave Popkins and what he's wanted from this team all along since coming over from the Minnesota Twins in the offseason, right? you can see the tangible results. They are working, and it's something that, paired with the platoon, having a ton of different lefties or righties available on a given night, the lineup is much deeper. And this is without Dalton Varsho. This is without a lot of the guys being in the MLB for a long time. I mean, you have to assume Will Wagner is going to continue to develop. Alan Rodin's going to continue to develop. And you look at yesterday's game, again, Will Wagner went 2 for 3, but you look at the pitch hitting spots. Ernie Clement hit one at his shins for a double, a 2 RBI double. You had Davis Schneider hit one at his shins from the, or sorry, not Davis Schneider hit it at the shins. You have everybody. Anthony Santander hit one at his shins from the left side. You have Ernie Clement from the right side hitting at his shins. Davis Schneider drawing a very solid walk. You have guys like Nathan Lucas being, solid contributors and actually having efficient at-bats, getting a bases-loaded walk there early in the fourth inning. So there's just some trends that we see earlier that are going to translate very, very well to the rest of this season. But a couple other things before we wrap up here. We do have the starting lineup today. And before we wrap up here, you can look. Interesting, right? You have Bichette, and again, you're going up against another right-handed pitcher in Dean Kramer. You have Bichette, Guerrero, Santander, so the top three remains the same. You still have Andres Jimenez in the cleanup spot, which I don't love, but I'm assuming they're waiting till a lefty to change that up. And then you have Kirk, Will Wagner, Davis Schneider, Ernie Clement, and Nathan Lucas. So Nathan Lucas gets another start after a very solid game yesterday, productive at-bats. You have Ernie Clement factoring back into the lineup, and it becomes a little bit interesting now because you obviously, most of you guys I'm sure notice, Alan Rodin is out of the lineup here tonight, and that is simply because Davis Schneider needs playing time. And obviously, I know a lot of fans out there, myself included, would prefer Alan Rodin to continue to get playing time. But again, he played the first 2 games. He was hitless yesterday, but he had a fantastic play in left field. They're running Davis Schneider now. It's going to be between Davis Schneider and Alan Rodin, and it is against a righty. You're playing a ton of righties, so you have Will Wagner, and they clearly chose, again, there's going to be times where to get everybody playing time, you're going to have to choose between Will Wagner and Alan Rodin and Davis Schneider, and they chose Davis Schneider today to get him some actual, consistent at-bats, something you're going to have to do. Will Wagner had a very good game yesterday, like I alluded to earlier here. He had, he went 2 for 3. He looks fantastic. He's crushing the ball. He's playing really good defense, even at third, left field, wherever you want to put him in. Today, of course, he's playing DH, so he's going to be the DH for tonight's game. I like the lineup. The bottom 3 is a little bit interesting. I think Ernie Clement's going to be very solid. Having Nathan Lucas back out there does make some sense. They clearly aren't comfortable necessarily with Miles Straw hitting against righties, which makes a ton of sense. They came out and said, John Schneider did, that Miles Straw is going to be the guy against left-handed pitchers. So we won't see Miles Straw for a while until, of course, we see a left-handed pitcher in the next few games here. But let me know down below what your thoughts are on this lineup. Again, Alan Rodin out, Nathan Lucas in. It's going to be it's going to be interesting to see how John Schneider continues to do this. I would probably prefer, like Will Wagner being leadoff, Bichette being 4th, Jimenez being 5th, and then Kirk being 6th. But it is what it is. It worked yesterday, and we'll see how it goes. Again, a couple other things. Brendan Little, who left yesterday's game with a left lat cramp, is actually good. So no new relievers with the Jays this morning, which is good news for now because you have to assume he's going to be ready to go for today's game. So it's going to be an exciting one, folks, and stay tuned for all the videos coming. Might not be a video following tonight's game because I'm actually at the game, but we're going to keep you up to date with the latest Jays news all season long. So make sure to hit the subscribe button. Thank you guys for watching. Cheers.